so I'm calling the meeting to order. First agenda item is adopting the agenda unless there are changes. Are there any changes to the agenda that came up in the last 48 hours?
Not from the housing authority.
All right, so hearing none, I'll make a motion, we adopt the agenda. Can I get a second? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just had a quick question about the agenda.
Go ahead.
Could you address this one? I'm just gonna pass this over, it's about the clock trains. And I'm not sure whether or not that should be on the minutes. Go up, Michael, oh,
Claude drains.
yeah. I wasn't sure whether or not that needed to be, that statement needed to be on there.
It was,
Well, we can address it when we deal with the minutes.
Oh, okay.
That'll be done. So I got a second for the adopting agenda. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So first up is public comments. Do we have any public comments? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to approval of the minutes. I'm gonna make a motion that we adopt the minutes. I get a second, then we'll discuss.
second,
Okay, Nancy second. So, the minutes, changes, additions,
Under facilities,
hold on, let's get there, that's page
that is page 2.
2. Yeah.
Yes, and it's the very last line. And I'm just not sure whether that should be included in the minutes.
it was stated.
It was part of our discussion.
Okay, so.
It's fair game, yeah.
Okay, all right, I just wasn't sure, so I
Yeah.
thought I'd ask.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Go ahead, any other additions, changes, or?
No.
Thank you, David. James, Mark?
yes, under board correspondence.
Yep,
Right under it.
yep.
It says, well, almost halfway through the paragraph. Let's see, some employees do not want to work in Hadley, as tenants will come to the window and call them names and tell them they are stupid.
I didn't say that, did I?
Does that need to
No, I
be,
said that.
Okay.
does that need to be that graphic? I'm just asking. Or do we want it that graphic?
Yeah, it's just the record.
Okay. I just didn't know to what extent.
Yeah, I mean, if it was stated, it'll be on tape anyways, so.
Okay, I'm just asking, that's all.
Yeah, no, there are no out-of-bound questions here.
Okay,
Any others?
are we going to, I'm sorry, the same thing, board correspondence, go
Mhm.
down to very, it says, after a little more discussion, it was decided to revisit next month, and we're talking about the taping.
And that will come up under board discussion.
Okay, so I guess, I think that's all I have. I'm sorry.
Nancy? James?
No.
Thank you, David. So hearing no more, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of adopting the minutes, say aye.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. Moving on here. Executive Director reports. First up is financials, the warrant report.
The warrant report, for the month of, June, 23 through, June, 30th, June 1st.
Yep.
June 30th, it's a total of, $538,322.23.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we adopt it. Can I get a second?
Just have, do I ask a question now, or?
No, we second, then we discuss.
Okay,
Got it.
sorry,
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Questions, discussion?
On the warrant report, please see page 5. Page 5.
Yep,
And it's the very first one. I don't know if it's just the wrong date, but under the very first one, Pro Shred Security, the invoice date is from last year, 22. So I didn't know whether or not that was just a typo, or we just,
A lost invoice.
oh,
It was a lost invoice.
okay, so that's fine, that was the only one I saw.
Other questions, Nancy?
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do here.
What page?
Hang on. Yes, good guess.
4?
Yeah.
Okay,
I guess if, I don't know, Bruce usually handles me on this.
Excuse me.
There's just some really high usage,
yeah,
water usage, $700 in a 99 Bridge. I don't know if that's the same apartment as the very high electrical use on page 1, it was 107. I'm just wondering what's, well, there's two issues. One is what's going on with 99 Bridge?
So that's the 4 units.
Hmm?
99 Bridge is 4 units.
so that's a cumulative.
Okay, that's good to hear. Then,
Should I close the door?
I don't know, maybe Bruce is following up on some of these high water usage ones.
Right. So we do have that procedure that we put into place when they come in,
Yeah,
that as soon as Carrie sees it, she sends an email to Pam and Bruce, and they put in a work order and they investigate it.
I'm not sure I see the work orders in, because this would be in May. Well, it was May, but I don't know when they come.
So if she paid the bill in June, so it came in sometime in June, sometime in May, the bill.
Right. So then there would be a work order about, but I don't think there are work orders about high water usage. There's one at Fairfield, one at Market Hill, Tamarack, Stanley, Watson Farm. There's several at Watson Farms.
Yeah,
I can check on that.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good. Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, Watson Farms has 55 cubic feet on one, and then 52 cubic feet on another. Those are family units?
Yeah.
Other questions?
Only other question I had was calling in Fletcher Sewer and Drain at page 2
Yeah,
for a clogged kitchen sink. I usually that's a maintenance thing, right?
It is, except for when we try everything between the snake and the blow in the air, and if it's too far down or if it's too
Okay.
stuck,
Okay.
then they end up
Yeah.
coming
what
through.
do? They have a more robust snake?
They have a much longer one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was me.
Any other questions? Takes a while just to recognize a lot of these. David, you good?
No, I have a question, and it's more about understanding, on page 7,
Yep,
and, what is the item, I would say, if you look on page 7, it count up from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, to, Hackworth Systems.
That's fire alarm. So that was repairs of the horns and the strobes. Excuse me, that was not repairs. That was an addition for a reasonable accommodation for a unit for someone that was deaf. So that we have to change out the sound for strobes.
Okay, all right, just, I don't remember ever seeing that particular company and, the type of description, so it's just for clarification. Okay, thanks.
anything else, David?
No, I'm fine.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just let me go back again to page 1, 99 Bridge.
Wait a
I
second.
think that's just one unit, the electrical use number, the
Yeah, the $84?
Oh, no, $107.
All
I
right.
get the.
Oh, down there.
Well, that one says unit 1, yeah, because it's
Yeah, but why is it so high then?
because maintenance is in there. there's lots of cabinets and all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
Sanding. and-
Okay, got it. Yep, I'm done.
All right, hearing no other questions or comments, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of adopting the warrant report, say aye. Aye. David?
Aye.
Okay, so we're unanimous. Now, the treasurer's report, the small print,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
painful.
The treasury report, for the month of May, showed, we had, a balance for cash and bank balance was $1,797,357.47 for the month of May. For the month of June, we showed a cash and bank balance of $1,473,604 $22.
Well, let me make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, questions, comments? So I noticed this month, we have two of the programs where really, we have a deficit at the end in terms of expenses over income. And on MRVP, it's $26,883. If you go down to amount over under on the bottom line,
Right, so,
how's,
391.
yeah, this here, this part.
Yeah, so it's about $391. So we did do a mass mailing for MRVP. MRVP program is being, they're migrating our wait list from our own spreadsheet that we had to CHAMP. And we were required, and I did write to the office of HLC to see if they were gonna reimburse us somehow, but we had to mail out, what, how many? Was it over 1,000? Over 1,000. And not only did we mail out the initial update your name, but we also included a postcard that was prepaid too. But the other thing that we're doing with the prepaid postage is when things were returned to sender, we're now asking for the postage back, because you can do that. So we're in the process of that, so that should go down, because it was a lot of postage.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere else. But this one here, here's where we're down 27,000 under housing assistance payment. So,
That's the,
no, that's how
that's the
much.
total expenses.
Yeah, where did we incur all the expense? I lost it.
This one here, that's one here. Yeah, let me make sure.
Housing assistance payment, 27. I wonder if our subsidy came in.
Well,
You're seeing it again because it's under housing assistance payment.
it's
It
getting,
should have came in.
it's listed
I have
here
to-
as an expense of 83,000 instead of prorated for 56. Now, I know this stuff doesn't happen every month.
Right.
You know, uniformly, I'm just curious. How, I don't understand how that's an expense under housing assistance payment. Is that where we send money to tenants?
Yeah, building.
Yeah.
Building.
Right, we get the money through the Department of
Oh,
Housing.
so it's out of cycle. Got it, thank you. All right, and then on the only other one where we're out of, we have a deficit is, oh yeah, under 400-1,
Yeah.
the 13,000.
Yeah,
That's your
that's-
mailing. Yeah. so-
No, this one is our 667 and our 705, so there is a lot of repairs going on.
Got it, okay. That's all I had on that. Mark, do you,
No,
James?
thank you.
No, I'm fine.
hey, no other questions on the,
Only,
Nancy?
yeah, on the consolidated expenditures report, the contract costs, years, expenditures year to date, It's like 44% of total,
Yeah,
it's on the second page.
maintenance expense.
Contract, not maintenance expense,
Oh,
contract
you're at
costs.
the other one.
Contract costs. I think that's across correctly.
The
No, you're-
4430?
Contract cost is 26.
Okay, wait a minute.
Your eyes are, it's the 44% is the maintenance expense.
Oh, okay.
So when you add that to the contract cost, it's what, 60, it's 70%.
Well, I'm
Divided by
thinking,
2 is
I'm
35.
thinking, okay. Well, okay, I take it all back.
Those, they're always out of sync. One's higher and the other's lower. But when you add them up and then divide by 2, it kind of conforms to where we should be this time of year.
Got it.
I've been watching that, that's why I know
Okay,
that.
sure,
But it certainly got my attention.
yeah, okay.
Any others you noticed?
No.
All right, then. Hearing no others, I'll call for a vote on accepting the treasurer's report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. Quarterly report, even smaller.
So this is telling you exactly what the treasurer's report just told you.
Yeah.
So-
Mm.
So you do just need to approve each of those.
Each of the programs?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to throw it into one vote with each of the, so we have the
If
400.
people are good with that, we'll just do one vote.
I can't,
So you got 401 is first, and you have 689, MRVP, 400-9, and one I never make sense of.
It's the modernization.
Yeah, the mod report. So I'll make a motion, we accept all of that.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Property management report.
So this one, our vacancies are at, we have 14. Still, we're trudging through, and we did have 2 move in last week.
Yay.
Is that correct, Pam, if I got that amount?
I believe so.
Oh, really?
No, we have two.
Yeah. And then we have a couple moving out, Aaron's stealing some of them for. Yeah, we're in a position where some of our 667 and 705 tenants are now getting Section 8 vouchers. They've been on the list
For years.
so they're exploring that. Not all of them go, some of them do. I did unfortunately hear of a death from Friday, so that'll,
One of our state tenants?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, which is unfortunate. But we are plugging along, and the lists are moving smoothly. I do think I told you last time, but maybe not, the CHAMP is upgrading for MRVP for where the state has contracted out to verify the priorities, all priorities. And that's supposed to help alleviate a lot of the burden on the local housing authority.
Mhm.
And it's definitely gonna set one standard across the Commonwealth. And then the plan of the executive office is to then have the 667 and the 705 wait lists, them also do the priorities. So we're hoping for the best. I'm very nervous about it because I know we're pretty strict with our priorities to make sure that they're correct according to the regulations. And hopefully the contractor will do that too. But that should help clear up the list. I was telling.
Can you say how that would do that?
Well, so there was, I was just working with a resident, with an applicant with their name on the list, and they are a priority, and I verified the priority. And they are local to the area, and I verified the priority, and then you can preview, and that person still came up at number 73 on the list. which is outrageous, in front of
And who's ahead of them?
other priorities from across the Commonwealth. And it's, so now things might change once we verify everything, but there's still 73 on the list. Yeah, it's
For the state.
for the state, for 667,
Ah,
elderly disabled. So that's what we run into.
and how is this gonna change?
So what will happen is, because a lot of the folks that are on the priorities actually really don't qualify. So you'll get somebody that will say, so I'm a priority one because I was in a house fire. Well,
Yeah.
your house fire was 10 years ago, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
So things,
So
That's
it's
just-
incumbent on us, we bear the burden of verifying.
yeah.
So if we don't get there, they get by.
Well, they still, yeah, they have to provide all that documentation, but what ends up happening is we verify them and either grant the priority or don't.
Yeah,
But that takes time.
And
So
so-
and then it holds up the whole
Right,
process.
So, and you're saying that a contractor is gonna, tell me again, 'cause it's.
So the executive office, so DHCD,
EOH.
yeah, EOHLC is now contracted with a third-party vendor that is going to run the priority list. So for a couple of years, Mass Narrow has been doing, sending out updates and trying to update that way, but it wasn't enough
Yeah.
to alleviate the burden still on the housing authority. So now they're gonna be taking that part from Mass Narrow and then doing the added step of them determining whether somebody's a priority or not. And what we're being told too is if somebody comes to us with a priority, we can't change it. So we'll see, I'm hoping, I'm gonna be optimistic and hope it works. But if somebody comes through and they're not a priority, I'm picking up the phone and calling
Yeah.
DHCD and saying, now, hold on.
Yeah. So a vendor is gonna do this? Somebody's nephew or something here?
No clue, yeah, it's some kind, it is. And I do believe, I know there was some back and forth because there was an outside vendor, or outside of the Commonwealth. But then they are in the Commonwealth, so.
Boy.
Yeah, it's a little,
It's Boston.
yeah, it's a little daunting that local control has been taken
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't they starting with AHVP and MRVP and then eventually moving to 667?
Yeah, but they're hoping by the fall.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
It's gonna be
pretty
quick.
quick, pretty quick. So
Let
hopefully,
us know how that works.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we don't need to approve this. How about
No, so, and
the
then
TAR,
the TAR is, there,
tenant accounts receivables?
yep,
Sorry for using it.
that's, so the June TAR is $9,292.72. I don't believe we have any write-offs yet too. So the property management is working to try to still get any kind of assistance for residents that we can get through raft funds or through the town. We are also working on getting repayment agreements with folks so that they can, if in lieu of them getting money, that we can get them on a repayment agreement. They can spread it out, again, out up to a year, as long as it's on ACH, automatic payments. And then if they refuse all of those steps, that's when we need to go into housing court and get a mediated agreement that way. So they're working.
So as a policy, if administration makes an error in calculating the rent for somebody and undercalculates it, the calculation is in favor of the tenant. And is it the policy to back charge the tenant?
So if I'm understanding correctly, we've done a rent recertification. We said the tenant's rent was $200 and then later found out the rent was, say, $250.
Yes.
Do we go back retro?
Yeah.
Not if it's our mistake. If it's the
Well,
tenant's
I
mistake.
hear differently.
Okay, good. Do you have both sides? If you give me that information, I can look into it and find out.
Okay.
If it was our fault, we would not. If it was, it's called fraud, but it's not always intentional fraud. If it was tenant fraud, then it
No, I
would go.
get the fraud part, but,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
but no, if it was not, even on the section 8 side, it's the same thing, we wouldn't have penalized them for our error.
Okay.
Other questions on the tire? All right, moving right along.
My turn?
Yes.
8,000? Okay, so, the PIC, the delinquency report is just our recertification, our annual recertification stats, and they're looking good. We're at 100%, so there's not really anything to talk about there.
Congratulations.
We're getting our research done, or Nan McKay is getting our research done.
Well, that's good.
Yep,
Good.
and it's freed us up to do
That's
some
good.
more waiting list work,
Yeah.
but, you know, the VMS numbers, which is your next
Yeah.
sheet, are still, you know, not where we want them, but we're trying. It's certainly not for lack of trying. We have done an incredible push since the first of the year. I think we've contacted well over 500 people. A lot of them didn't respond, but we've issued a bunch of vouchers. I didn't.
People just can't find the units, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is people are leasing up, but unfortunately, people are also still going off the program rapidly. So we're treading water, and it's really
What do
frustrating.
you think-
Angela's really, like,
What do you think drives them off the program?
well, I came in today and someone died. I mean, that happens a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot of death. People move away, give up their vouchers, just don't recertify, fraud, program violations, you know.
Any change in the
Earning more
avail,
income.
sorry,
I'm sorry, some are earning more income too, and they've just.
Yep,
Okay.
that's true. They pay the full rent and they end up off, go into long-term care facilities, hospitals, don't come out.
I'm just more concerned about availability of units anywhere. Nothing's changing that logjam, is it?
Not really, you know, and when I say we're treading water, I mean, we might be putting 3 people on the program in a given month and 3 people are going off. So, you know, I don't want people to think that we're like losing
No,
people
no.
left and right. It's just that we can't put enough on to replace, and we were down to begin with because of the pandemic. So we need to put a lot of people on, like closer to 50. That's gonna take time.
Are we seeing people mainly leasing up outside of Amherst because,
It's both. People do find affordable units in Amherst, they do.
okay,
But yeah, we see a lot of lease ups in Springfield, Holyoke, Chicopee. We get a lot in our extended service area too, Hadley, South Hadley, Belchertown. But it is hard, and we find that people need at least 90 days on average to find a place, and most need the full 120. So you've really got an issue. You know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
always behind, and the payment standards are low. We have asked, I mean, ours are the highest. We have small area FMRs we're using for Amherst, and we just asked last month, I was just sitting here thinking about it, how I still haven't heard back from HUD, and I'm gonna go back and check when I get back. We asked for a waiver, another waiver, to increase them even more before this calendar year ends, because we have so many reserves from being under leased since the pandemic, that if we could use some of that to, you know, help, but that's only gonna help Amherst. We can't control the payment standards in Springfield, Northampton, you know, that's up to those individual agencies, so it's just really hard, for our clients, you know, and there's a far less money available to help them with lease up anymore because of raft money drying up. So really, you can only access raft money if you're in an emergency now, and not everybody, they just need help. They need help with security, first, last, moving vans, you know, all of that. So we're doing briefings all the time, you know, and we have at least 10, 12 people show up every single briefing. We're really trying, and
Oh,
there's
I
a
know
lot
you're
of work,
trying.
it's a lot of work on, it's good that we have the Nan McKay help, because Angela really is working with these applicants constantly. And you know, we don't get any money for that. We don't get money from HUD for somebody until they lease up on the program, so it's a lot.
huge cost, yeah.
And then sometimes, I mean, she's dealing with one right now where we went all the way through the process, paid the inspector, leased this person up, and then she pulled out the last minute. She said, never mind, I don't want that unit. And we're like, and this is after we'd already given her more than 120 days. So it's hard. But we're trying.
Hey,
We're trying.
So, The little fine print here, if I'm reading it correctly, ACC units is for, we have available 431 and what we have,
Least is, well,
340, that's like, oh, my heart.
we have more than 340 least. I don't really understand what
Okay.
that number is. We have more like 350. But
Yeah.
431 is, that's our ACC units, so that's our contracted units. We're never gonna lease up that many because we have to either lease up that number or
Right.
spend all our
Yeah.
money, and we would never be able to.
But are we being judged on the 431?
We're being judged on either 431 or the money. So if you look here on the VMS, it will tell you that you've got utilization
Yeah.
is at 87%. That's because of all, if you look at the HAP dollars that we're actually spending, that's what we're really being judged
Well,
on.
and compared to other housing authorities, we're in the middle, aren't we?
Last time I checked, we're right where everybody else in the country
Yeah,
is.
we don't
This
stand
is
out.
a really tough time.
Was they saying when we were in the conference that it was 81% for the nation?
Wow. Yeah, maybe I don't recall that specifically, but somewhere in that vicinity, yeah.
See, I think that's the one we really focus on, because we don't draw up fire as long as we're in the,
I mean, HUD has to understand. I think they do.
yeah.
They also need to answer my call. If you want me to spend my money, you kind of have to answer my request.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's tough. That is a tough job.
I'll go talk to them. See
Yeah.
what to do.
All right,
Take some more time to name.
Going back.
Wow.
don't even think about working remotely out there.
Okay.
So, any more on this? Thank you. I mean, every monthly report, we just hold water.
Yep.
That's heroic in
I think it
itself.
will get better. I think it's just gonna take some time.
All right. So, Facilidad, capital. That's Bruce. You're doing Bruce.
Joe
Or you don't look like Bruce.
Thank you. I do. So the just a couple of, there's nothing to sign this time, but just a couple of quick overviews. We have the John Nutting siding project that will be starting anytime now. Have some colors picked out. We tried to get it, so, and John Nutting is right over in the corner, catty corner to these Chestnut Court ones. They kind of look like contemporary buildings. That'll be starting anytime now. The elevator project at Ann Whalen, so it's a repair project. The parts are delayed again, so we're still delayed on parts.
They coming from China?
At this point, it feels like it. They just keep getting backlogged. So we're desperately waiting for that. And then the ceiling project, we were about ready to start the ceiling project at Ann Whalen and found out that we had more money for that project than what we had scoped out. So we're throwing in more hallways in Ann Whalen to get those done as well, to spend up that chunk of money.
So the elevator in Whalen, there's two operating and they're safe and.
Yes. Yeah. It's the smaller one that is a little more problematic. And we absolutely said, should we take it offline?
Yeah.
And they said, no, it was safe.
It's good to have the bigger one operable.
Yes, for the gurneys and things.
If I step away for a minute, is it okay?
Oh,
yeah.
You still have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, it's just a work order report. So just the,
Yeah, these are really helpful. It's a sense of.
so you can see how busy they are. I'm gonna have them next time, we'll filter it so that it's a full calendar month instead of the 2 months when it's run, but.
Can you talk about, John, 689-1 is John Nutting, right? And the first work order, replace 6 smoke detectors as they were not working during the fire safety inspection. What was called, do you know what?
They were disconnected.
689-1 by the staff?
We're not sure who. We're not sure who, but it was, so we fixed them. Right.
So the fire safety inspection was done by an outside, was that the
Yes.
town?
Yep, but the town will come in, plus we do our own inspections as
Okay.
well, with an outside inspector.
So then we go down the work order and like number 6 or 7 down, there's a chirping alarm and
Yeah.
nutting, and then there's another beeping alarm, and then there's smoke detector beeping, chirping. What's happening?
It could have been batteries, it could have been the humidity, but I know the ones that were out were disconnected. And then the chirping is the backup battery,
Yeah.
because they do have
Yeah, yeah,
electric
yeah.
and then it's a backup
Yeah.
battery. So
Wow.
it all,
Yeah.
and you would think staff would call in
No,
and report that.
not at all.
Their staff, not our staff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm confused.
So those are staffed buildings, they're group homes.
Ah,
So they have staff, depending on the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
agency that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have over there.
Yeah.
so that's, gotcha.
Now, who's the vendor over there?
We have two, Behavioral Health Network and ServiceNet.
Yeah. Both?
Both are over there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. So was this in one particular building? I guess so.
No, well, if it's in one unit, if it's on one work order, it would be one unit.
So,
On the
Yeah.
page.
so you can pinpoint whether it was the BHN or the,
Yeah,
or
oh,
the, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh.
You'll see, I'm not sure if it's on this one too, but there's a work order for this building for one of the group homes for all the screens. All the screens went missing or broken. So,
Yeah.
and something like that too, we do have to charge the vendor back. for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Wow.
Other questions, comments about the work orders?
I don't want to go right one stand, water tank was leaking.
Not for me.
Thank you, David.
The 000, is that Tamarack or?
Watson. 000.
Oh, 000
Watson.
is Watson? Oh, okay. Yeah, the water tank was leaking a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep, I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
Any others, comment? All right, then we can move on to board discussion. Correspondence, I'm sorry. First up is the discussion of management agreements with both Belchertown and Hadley.
So, I know Hadley has been in contact with Michael to ask for a joint meeting to talk about, they're favorable into going in a management agreement, but wanted to have a conversation with the Board of Commissioners of Amherst. And then Belchertown's meeting was on Thursday, and they unanimously voted to go into a 5-year agreement with Amherst and asked me to bring that back, and if that's favorable to Amherst, we would drop all the paperwork. And again, it would be that stock management agreement template.
So no variation.
No, yeah, no.
Is that appropriate that we would vote on that today, or is there another step before?
You could vote on it, and then I could bring all the particulars. You could vote to approve me to get all the paperwork together, the contracts, the fees. And Gary DePace helps me with the fees to make sure we're getting.
So how does that land on people in terms of Belchertown? Is that something we want to move forward with?
I do. Seems fine to me.
Any reason not to?
I mean, coming from Belchertown, I know that they are very, reputable people and they're honest, and I would feel very comfortable being in, contact with them.
David, thoughts?
No, move forward. I'm listening.
Okay, James?
Yeah.
Well, so let me make a motion that we ask Pam to pull together all the documents and give it to us at the next board meeting. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so that's Belchertown. Hadley,
So Hadley's meeting was also last week, and they made a motion to reach out to you, which they did. David Moshkin, the chairperson.
yeah, he did.
I think that if I had to gauge it, we do have a commissioner here today. I think you might have a 4-to-1 Gary DePace was at that meeting. Gary DePace is our fee accountant, and he was answering some questions. There's been that lingering question about the independent audit, and it was explained again that, and the reason for the reason the one commissioner is citing that is that he doesn't feel that Gary DePace should be auditing his own work. That's not how it works. Gary DePace doesn't audit his own work. We have an outside auditor, just like we do here in Amherst. So that was cleared up, and then as well as any other questions that they may have had about the finances and how it does financially help both the Hadley Housing Authority and the Belchertown Housing Authority, excuse me, the Amherst Housing Authority, financially. We are getting to the point where we would be billing more appropriately than we did in the past. When we first went into Hadley and into Belchertown, we were helping them out in the early years, and now we're billing fully. So we're gonna see the rewards of that, so to speak, financially. And there are commissioners on both boards that are interested in talking about regionalizing, which would help all three agencies. Financially, you get 15% more in subsidy from the executive office. It would take a while to do that. You go to a 7-member board, you have representation from all of the towns. So it's definitely a way forward.
So we're back to, we have two things to decide. Are we interested in renewing the contract with Hadley? If so, that's one question. The other is, do we want to agree to meet with their board? They can meet, I believe, at 11 this coming Friday, and would be willing to meet here or there. So that's what's on the table. What are your druthers? What's your thoughts?
Let me just check my notes for a second, please.
Michael, you said what was
What you're thinking about the option of renewing with Hadley?
I'm right where I was in the last meeting. If the director feels that we're moving in the right direction, I support it.
Thank you.
My question is, based upon what we discussed in our notes earlier,
Yeah.
and the way that the staff has been treated, that's a concern.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even Nancy brought that up. And that would be my concern going forward. Would it continue, or would something change on Hadley's part? Because I don't want to see, I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to go into a job and having these issues every day.
Yeah.
That'd be a good job. And I hate to be associated with somebody who's going to continue that type of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
And the board doesn't, and I don't think the board, the Hadley board can control that.
No, I know that. But I'm just saying, do we want to be associated with somebody or a organization that is working on that?
Can I comment
Please.
on that? So there's always tenants that are gonna be that way, and we deal with tenants like that in all three agencies. We truly do. The frustration was that the board was not controlling it at board meetings. The Hadley board was not controlling it at board meetings, and allowing it to continue. And then also not getting involved. You're not supposed to get involved in, you're not, as a commissioner, which you all folks
Right.
know that, you're not an advocate for our residents. You're advocates of public housing.
Right.
And that's, I think they're starting to grasp that, because we spoke about that at the last meeting. Gary DePace spoke about that too. So there was a lot of individual advocating from one or two board members towards, with those tenants. And I think that has come to an end.
Excuse me. Well, that makes me feel a little better, knowing that people are, I would just say calming down,
Yeah.
all across the board. Well, it sounds like they're calming down.
No, I was getting the pun of across the board, that's what I was laughing
Oh,
at.
okay.
You know, Hadley Housing Authority has been in the news forever as a problem. I mean, whether it was bird feeders or whatever, they always happen to be in the Gazette. And I don't, so there's that piece. We hired Pamela to be our director, and she brought along Belchertown. Going over to Hadley, I don't think has been working out. And I don't support it. I think that, and I tie it into tenant satisfaction, the surveys that were done here, where we were below, never mind whether we were a big housing authority or a little housing authority, we were below
The state.
the state as a whole in tenant satisfaction, and that is the reason we're here. I mean, we can go through the money, we can go through the work orders and this and that, but tenant satisfaction should be the gold standard here. And so far, we're not meeting that. And so why extend ourselves to Hadley, when we don't have the satisfaction in Amherst? Now, maybe, I don't know how Belchertown came out in the tenant survey, but I'm concerned about Amherst, and we don't have that tenant satisfaction yet. So that's why I'm not supporting it. And if I'm the only one, that's fine, but I don't support it. And walking, still, it was walking into that, whatever that was, you know, a couple months ago, walking into that meeting, and, you know, it was just like, where am I, and why is this happening? This is not housing authority as I know it. So.
Has that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, David.
I'm just wondering, listening to the comments there, whether there was in Hadley just some total misunderstanding about what was supposed to be happening. That's a question I had. I also feel that it should be made very clear with that about the harassment of personnel. That is totally not acceptable, non-acceptable. And those seem to be, I guess, the things that I have observed. And I believe that since Hadley is reaching out to us, they're in a position already to address or have addressed those issues.
Okay, thank you. David, were you about to say something? Because I want to get James's thinking on this. Do you have something you were about to say, David?
Oh,
Mark.
I was gonna say, okay.
Brain freeze.
That's all right. I just have a question, whether or not, and I haven't been on the board long enough, so I have to sort of generic question. Has the, I would say the duties of the management company, any management company, taken over for the housing authority, has that changed over the years? Because I talk to people myself, they keep saying that the housing authority, and that's what quotes, was more of a hands-on type of coddling type of situation. And I see what we expect of the management is to handle the business, make sure the buildings are safe, they're occupational, you know, that we can occupy it. And we had, well, up until the young lady, Kendra just left, sort of on staff, a sort of quasi-social worker, I guess we would say. we no longer have that right now, which seems to be a lot of people who live in these buildings, and I live in one too, the expectations, did we lose them?
No.
Oh. The expectation seems to be from the tenants that the management is supposed to be doing other than just managing the property, and they're like supposed to be caregivers and that kind of stuff, and that's not the role of why we're here. That's not the role of the Amherst Housing Authority. That's the role of working with your doctor, working with your caregivers, working with everybody else. We're not supposed to be the ones going and knocking on the door. We can do it if we have to knock on the door.
Are
Make
we
sure
talking about staff doing this?
Staff.
Okay.
I'm basically, because I think there's a difference between the expectations of the tenants of what used to be versus what is now. I think things have changed. And I think we all know that COVID probably didn't help us.
Mhm.
But I think the expectations have really changed, because I talked to a lot of people at the senior center that live in our buildings. They have a very, how do I put this, unrealistic expectations of our management. And unfortunately, I think this is probably happening the same thing over in Hadley. And I would love to say that probably when Nancy, you might have been back, you had the opportunities to be closer with people, that sort of thing. And they've had that coddling type mode in their head. And unfortunately, it just doesn't happen.
What does coddling mean?
In other words, hand holding. If you need something, you just call the office and they'll run right up to you.
It's a hotel, not an apartment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's that mentality. And I'm wondering if that's changed over, I know it's changed over the years. And I'm wondering if that, because you were looking at the results of the thing, I wonder if that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people's interpretations of expectations versus what we're actually able to
I think we
put
did.
up.
I think we did a lot of social activities in the building and created community. Helped create community.
Right, I've heard about that.
And what I found was that if you create positive relationships with tenants, you get much farther in terms of work orders and cooperation and everything else.
But the stories I'm hearing from the people who live in, like Ann Whalen and that kind of stuff at the senior center, they are expecting you to knock on the door and tell them you're going to have a social, or you come and get me because we're having a movie.
Right,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, this is what I'm getting from 3 or 4 different women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the staff has done that too.
And I'm thinking to myself, you know what, this is really out of bounds of what the management staff should be doing and concentrating their work on.
Mhm.
I mean, we had the social worker, and
And we'll get another one.
well, they probably will,
It's our
and
resident
that's
service
wonderful.
coordinator,
Yeah.
which is, that's their job. I mean,
Right.
in theory, if we're going to expand that, it's not, Julie from maintenance who's going to do it.
No.
I'm hoping
Right,
it's,
And then to be clear too, the resident service coordinator position has changed too, and there's all kinds of, that, they're really supposed to be almost an extension of the senior center, where they're helping people
Right,
with applications, for food stamps, helping them getting PCAs, helping them with healthcare, not doing social. It's been made
but
very
getting them
clear.
to the social worker, they're more a facilitator at this point, at least
Right.
that's what I'm
But-
saying in
but
our
then-
programs.
Right, but not doing social things like movies
Right,
and dinners
right.
and things like that. That's not
that's the
supposed to
role
come
of
out.
like a senior center.
Yeah.
Now, it's switched over, because I go and I'm on the COA, so I know what their role in senior center is
So
going to
your
be.
point is about tenant satisfaction.
Yes, my point is, I think that report is skewed because of the fact that people's expectations are not realistic.
Gotcha, okay,
I think that's what I'm really trying to say.
all right.
And the
Well,
reason I'm
let's look
saying
at the
this,
date- Let's look at the dates. What I'd be interested in is tenant surveys that are prior, 4 or 5 years ago, and then the most recent one was like 20,
Yeah,
20,
there's only been 2 of them. Yeah, they've carried over the same data, so there's only been the 2 of them.
2.
two surveys since 2016. They did a 2016, 2018,
2016 to 2018.
and it was what, 87%?
Contact management, valid problem of concern, 87%. Felt they were usually or always treated with courtesy, respect when they contacted management was at 89. And that was in Amherst.
When was it?
2016 to 2018.
Yeah, there were 3, fall of each year. So it's all pre-COVID.
Has it been one after COVID?
We don't have any data.
No, we
No.
don't have, we don't have any data.
Oh, I don't know what to respond to that.
Well, I'm trying to get it in my head, and because you're talking about, you hear stories from people, and so am I. And I don't know how to respond, first of all, because I'm like, I can't get involved, because this is the day-to-day activity, is the management, not the board. But I'm bringing it up because I want it to be acknowledged that this is what people are thinking. And I think it's an unrealistic expectation on their part.
All right. Well, James, what's your thoughts on all this? Hadley,
I mean, I'm looking at
So
these,
they did.
and it's funny because you look at some of the, well, have you had a problem? No, I haven't. But are you satisfied? No, I'm not. I mean, I don't understand, there seems to be somewhat of a disconnect between, we don't have any problems, but, and it is, you know, everyone likes to complain, and everyone likes to complain in a town with an H that's silent sometimes. So I don't know if they just, you know, we all fit in.
I mean, the use, I know this stuff around surveys now.
Yeah.
Surveys are good to kind of get you some radar splits, but you have to dig under that with focus groups to understand what's driving it. We don't have that. It's an option, we can talk about how we would get some more data, but really they're just blips on the radar screen.
But I thought the topic was whether or not we want to be associated with Hadley.
Right, right.
And my point is, if the unexpected realizations are here in Amherst, and obviously we're having the same issues in Hadley, that really has nothing to do with us as a business, and business, and business.
Okay.
We have to look at it as a business perspective. We're not looking at it as, your nurse didn't show up,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
So where are you at on the question of whether to,
I say that we go for the Hadley because, first of all, it gets us extra people.
yeah,
I think, if I remember correctly. I think it keeps us, if we are going to regionalize somewhere in the future, it gets us at least going in that direction. Yes, I'm sure there's going to be bumps along the way, but I would rather get the bumps out of the way now
okay,
than, let them build up.
yep,
And I think at this time, we've had enough exposure, Amherst, Buxton 3, we've had enough exposure to each other to sort of know, it's kind of like a marriage. You really have to know.
post honeymoon, yeah,
Yeah, the honeymoon's over, and now we need to sort of sort out how we're gonna do things.
okay,
So I'm in favor.
got it. James?
I mean, I think my concern was for the staff, but if the staff is willing to take it on, and we now have Hadley's board kind of understanding what we're talking about here, then I think that they will then be in support of the staff. I think that would be good. And I definitely think we're heading towards some level of regionalization, so, it's the economies of scale and everything.
So given that, it sounds like it makes sense for us to meet with them. Because I'd be in favor of going forward.
I don't mind being against it.
I know.
No, I mean, but I'm actually kind of, I'm not concerned, but I'm curious why you would be against a business situation, or are you looking at it as they're not getting something other than that?
Who's they?
Well, Hadley, right now we're talking about whether or not we want to be associated
Well,
with Hadley.
I think that a board cannot control tenants.
No, we know that.
Right. And so, David's remark that, something about how they promise to be better, or, you know, treat the staff better is an empty, that's just wishing, you know.
What happens if we get into the agreement and they are not treating our staff anymore?
So again, just to be perfectly clear, I'm more concerned with the board's treatment of the staff, not the tenants, because there's always tenants. Yeah. There's, this contract again is the standard executive office, excuse me, contract. There's a 60-day out
Okay, so
On
60
either end.
days on either end.
on either end, yeah. And I did want to comment, because I think it came up at the last board meeting too, and I believe in your line of work, you're seeing it too. I'm on the legislative committee for Masnarro, and we were just meeting, and they're really estimating that within the next 10 years,
Mhm.
we're just gonna be,
Mhm.
we're gonna be a smaller,
Right,
we're gonna be eaten up by regions.
I don't know if it was in the packet that I was given or whatever, that even back that Deval Patrick only wanted 8 housing authorities.
Right.
And, you know, clearly movements afoot. We now have a Secretary of Housing again,
Yeah.
so, I mean, and we have a new name.
Yeah.
I told him, I was in the middle of 20 contracts when that came up.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're heading that way. I know a couple of directors that I, you know, just out in the world who are looking in on the prowl to take on more authorities, and
Yeah.
they're rolling it up, so it's happening. Don't know if that's, you know, it's funny, good, bad, or I don't know.
Well, if tenants are dissatisfied now, trying to deal with a corporation, so to speak, later on is gonna be a lot more difficult.
That's my point too.
And I think I think tenants need to, well, as a tenant, we need to adjust. Seriously, we need to grow with the world. You have to change, that's number one. You know, anybody who's worked with corporations knows it's not easy.
But these are the most vulnerable people in our community.
I realize that, I do realize that, but the thing is, we cannot, they have to take responsibility for themselves also. We cannot live their life for them.
No.
We can help them as best we can, but there comes a time where you have to take responsibility for yourself. And now I know there's some issues, I agree with you, Nancy, there's some people that probably need more help, and those are the people we probably will have to get somebody, like somebody we have, like a Kendra or something, who can steer them, you know, that sort of thing, but not necessarily take care of their
Well,
life.
let's back up and just see.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Are we in a place to tell Hadley we wanna meet with them? Embedded in that is we are wanting to go forward with a renewal, assuming we agree on the conditions.
I would like to meet with them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem not.
Sure.
David,
Yes, move forward.
is this Friday, coming Friday at, I think 11 a.m. Open for people?
One second.
Well, you said this way. No, for me, Michael, I'm out of town
Got it.
and will not be back in town until the 14th.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, David. I hope you're enjoying your
You sound feeling jealous.
Sounds good to me. Where are you going?
So,
And I'm trying to consider my future.
All right.
Uh-oh, I know what that
So,
means.
how about the rest of you, the 11,
Friday, at what time?
11 a.m.?
11, where would it be located?
I say we go there.
You want to go there?
Yeah, they
Well,
have,
how many people do they have versus us?
well, they have a really nice facility in there.
So the senior center asked
Senior
us,
center.
they asked us not to be there. They would like us to be in our own facility.
Oh, who did?
Haley
Sounds
Woods.
Sounds fun.
The senior center people?
Yeah, senior center.
And have
Yeah.
They don't want us.
So,
Well, we can always meet here. It's not a problem.
All right, so 11 o'clock here then?
Does that work?
Is that-
better, works
It's-
better.
We're saying 11, or?
Yeah.
11 o'clock,
And it's
okay.
a hard 1 hour or something, could we?
Well,
Yeah, I would, I think,
say 1 hour?
yeah.
Okay, so 11 a.m. here, meaning in this room. Is that the best? I think it's a bigger, it's a
Yeah,
better room than up on the 5th floor.
yeah. Yeah, plus we don't want people trouncing through ambulance.
Yes, right. Okay, so we're on board at 11. I'll let David Moskin know.
can I make one other comment on that
Please.
too? So a lot of the problem, I think, with the board is that there was new board members all at once too. There were, like the board completely turned over. The other thing is, so the contract expires on September 31st. Again, there's maybe one or two board members, definitely one.
September 30.
September 30, thank you.
30 days, that's.
I never could learn that, that little poem.
If I didn't have that, I'd
Isn't
get
that
lost.
terrible? Me
So-
with my memory. But anywho, so I don't want them to feel pressured because of the time frame that this is what they want to do. If you
Yeah.
really don't want to be with us, then say that. So I had said, and again, Lisa's here, to them, there is no, the Amherst Housing Authority is not gonna like hand in the key on the 30th. If you need help, we'll stay until you hire within a reasonable time frame, until an alternative executive director or management
I
agreement,
mean, if they pull out.
if they pull out,
Yeah.
right? Because
Got it.
I don't want to get into something just because they feel rushed.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
and I said, I'm sure the Amherst board would back me with that you would allow us to keep
Yeah.
servicing those folks, especially the tenants, while Hadley was making those decisions within reason, because Chicopee, East Hampton, we saw what happened with East Hampton, but Chicopee, Warren, Ware, they're all without an ED and have been for a long time.
So we're voting to be associated with Hadley. Then they have to vote whether or not they want to be associated with Amherst.
They pretty much already
Yeah.
voted that they want to do it.
Okay, so, you know,
As part of the process, they want to meet with our board.
okay, just to sort of last minute.
Not sure what the joke
Okay.
is.
I just want to make sure where my head's at.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas I think with Belchertown, it's already just a comfortable
Yeah,
relationship,
Yeah.
so.
okay.
All right.
So 11 o'clock on Friday then.
Okay, I'll let David know that when we leave. We have the Schiffer and the tenant satisfaction. Should we stay with the tenant, or do you want to go to Schiffer?
What a shipper.
All right. What do you got, Nancy?
What do I have?
Oh, no, Pam's.
So what do you have?
Well, the Schiffer money, we want to use it. Nancy asked to put it on the agenda,
Right.
which was very timely, because again, that legislative committee that I'm on, they're really talking about ways of, because there's the repositioning of housing. They want, the executive office wants out of 667-705, HUD wants
Debrief,
that as such.
667-705 is.
667 is the elderly disabled, and 705 is the family housing. And even these 689, the group home projects, maybe they won't get out of that. They really want to change the way things are done. And they're talking about the same thing that we're talking about with Chapter 18, yeah, with like Watson,
Yeah.
is to,
So the
absolutely.
government want to get out of housing.
Right, which
Low
I,
income
when
people.
this came up like maybe a year and a half ago, and I said to Gary DePace, our fee accountant, how does the state tell us we want you to go federal and the federal wants you to go state? Like, everybody's going like this.
Right.
But they do have a plan. There is a plan coming down. But they're talking about all these different types of classes that we're taking. And they're working with the folks that take care of the CPA money, community preservation, to say, how about you open that up to allow for admin money for housing authorities to be able to, or other, to be able to.
They're kicking it back to the communities.
To be able to have admin costs, because we have to get we have a nonprofit that is defunct, which we need to get that back up, but we need a lawyer for that. There's money sitting there, but nobody's got access to that money.
How much money?
Over $50,000 there
For
too,
the nonprofit,
for the nonprofit,
the housing authority.
yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know where that came from years ago. Was it Donna Crabtree that would have started the, but there's all that, they're putting together help, administrative help to help housing authorities go.
Wait, I still don't get it.
It's very confusing, so and I'm probably not explaining it very well.
But keep going.
So they're saying that we're gonna get out of this subsidy driven. We're gonna go more to like the vouchers, MRVP, AHVP. We're gonna transition our units from 667-705 to like a voucher type program. They're gonna go to the federal government and ask for more money.
Who owns the buildings then? All the buildings?
It
What
would
happens
be
to
the
them?
housing authority, but again, it appears that Governor Healy's office prefers regional housing authorities.
Right.
So then you're gonna need legal help as well, transferring deeds.
So the
It's a
property.
big, it's a
And
big.
how does this
deal.
tie to Schiffer?
Because Schiffer, we have money that we could use, Nancy was talking about, can we buy more housing? And that's the other thing too,
No,
is
could we
to.
help a developer? Or none, I don't mean by.
Oh, I thought, we
No.
need to help us. I thought, that's why I was like,
No,
yeah, we need to
if
help
we,
them.
if in town, there are developers who, are doing low-income housing, like the CDC did,
Mhm.
the Valley CD.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so we help developers who are already, know what they're doing, and they're building low-income housing that we can use with Section 8, that we help give them some money.
So that's what the state wants to do. The state wants to give all of our money to the developers, to these guys. That's what-
Formally,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what Masnarro is thinking, is that the state's goal is to go with the nonprofits.
owning
to
the
get-
properties, and pure,
CDCs.
basically a for-profit, non-profit model, right? Because there's not gonna be subsidies, it's just gonna be the voucher, and you run your building the best you can based on what the tenant's rents are.
Exactly.
And then we'll recapitalize in 50 years with another high-tech funding, so they wanna bring it, so it's the RED, it's a RED program, right?
Right,
The
yeah.
the Rental Assistance Demonstration 2 program. where
For
you
on the
take-
state side, not on Watson.
You take
Yeah.
the properties and so then they dangle, I think, what, a 20-year contract and such, which,
So-
buildings are being converted now and.
So a regional housing authority would own all the properties
Yeah.
that are currently 667 and 689, and it would be what you described.
I think, they would probably I'm guessing here, but it's probably gonna use LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits to fund a capitalization of the building, a renovation of the building. And then they run it, you don't get any other money except for the rent that's coming in, whether it's if you have project base, or if, mobile vouchers. And,
Yeah.
that would be the program. And
Okay, but that's like 5 years, correct? 5 years, 7? It's in the future.
Right.
Is there a developer now who needs
Well, but-
our Schiffer funds?
Wait, we gave money to a developer,
Yeah,
and they're
50,000.
still, right, but they're still in the process, and how long ago did we give it to them?
Last year.
Yeah, it's about to be on board.
I think it was several years ago, wasn't it?
Well, it
Several years
takes
ago.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take us a couple of years, and I think we need the money. I thought when you were bringing that up, that it was like, okay, we're gonna develop, because that's where we.
No, because I can't imagine that Amherst Housing Authority developing its own property, developing property.
But they did in the past.
They did in the
Are
past
anyone-
because we had somebody who was Donna Crabtree honed her skills and was a developer.
Right.
And had, she was able to do that and pull people together. I'm not saying you can't, but it's a skill that takes years.
Are there
You can't
any-
just jump in.
Are there any housing authorities?
There's, so
In
Worcester,
Massachusetts?
yeah,
Worcester?
Worcester, Watertown, Chelsea,
Yeah.
Somerville.
No, Donna developed a lot of housing
Right.
when she was director.
So I'm serving on these committees, and they're talking to me, and they're trying to talk to me about that as well
But-
too, so I'd like to hone my skills to do that.
But
for
the
Amherst,
other
for
thing is
Worcester.
that where are you gonna buy any land in Amherst to build low-income housing? I mean, there's nothing here. There was when Donna was doing it, but I just can't
But
imagine.
Valley CDC just did that too.
They did.
So they're talking about too, so, what's happening out in Chelmsford and in Worcester too, is you're taking a building like Ann Whalen and you're decommissioning that building. And then you're gonna build new, and you're gonna have more housing.
Decommissioning meaning,
Tear it
Tear
down.
it down. And then rebuild. And there's money there to do that, and there's help at the executive office level. Because what Donna Crabtree did 30 years ago, is absolutely obsolete. You can't
Exactly
do
what
it
I'm
that
saying,
way.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, but there's help, we absolutely get help from the executive office.
Mhm.
They have a whole team of people
Okay,
that are
fine.
gonna sit there and.
Okay, I just don't wanna see it used for operational fun.
Oh, right,
I don't wanna see it to figure out the budget or to,
Yeah,
to
No, that was-
shortfalls or anything like that.
the whole intent of the money was
Right,
never that,
was to create housing.
yeah.
Either we do it or somebody else does it.
right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, there's a lot going on in
I
the
think-
state. There's a lot.
I don't know what their investment in doing all this is. I'm nervous.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So are we.
So we go back to the tenant survey report. Is there more you want to do with that, Nancy?
Oh, what? The sugar fund?
No, the tenant survey report.
Well, do we have copies of it? I don't know.
It's a soft copy.
I have one hard copy.
Oh, I didn't get any.
No, it just came in the
Yeah,
soft.
it just came in the email.
I
I
didn't,
was trying to,
I didn't,
yeah.
We'll give it to them, I think they have theirs.
did everybody else get them?
Yeah.
We've all got ours on soft.
Yeah. I don't know,
I mean, it does, while you're
yeah.
gathering your thoughts, it does provide an opportunity to say, how do we dig underneath this to find out more detail of what went into those responses?
Yeah.
So in the last survey, again, on that when we did it, it was just prior to COVID.
18, yeah.
And
And our
this was-
returns were,
Did it
We
go up
got-
in the spring of 18? Or in the fall?
it just doesn't say, but it's a 40 out of 98 is a good return.
And I didn't, I did start on
I think what I was looking at was, not the maintenance, because I didn't get a chance to see this, so I'd have to, but I think, communication, the summer 2019 to 22, felt they were usually or always treated with courtesy and respect when they contacted management. We were significantly below the entire state.
I don't know if
Now,
we have the same
You can
issue.
call it coddling, or you can call it whatever you want, but that stuck out to me.
I agree, I'm reading it right here, and
What page are you guys?
this is,
The most recent survey, 2019.
and I believe we're under the communications.
Right.
So we're looking at here, the very first one, 72%. And now, Nancy, when was this one done? This survey?
2019 to 2022.
So, 22. So is that's before COVID, or?
It looks like, I don't, fall of, you can see it if you look at the top.
Oh, here, fall, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but you know what, I hate to say this, I
Oh,
really
go
do.
ahead.
Well, I'm going to say it anyway. Being that I went through COVID in the housing, I didn't have any issues. I'm not gonna would it's not like I'm a model tenant or anything. I mean,
No, you're not, no.
I'm not, believe me. I'm here. But the thing is, I had heat, I had hot water. During the winters, everything was plowed.
Yeah,
I never had issue. The only issue I had was maybe another tenant who probably lived above me, maybe walking a little too heavily. The normal stuff. I don't understand some of the discussions that some of these people have.
well, so we'd have to do interviews.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking at, so we look at communication.
Yeah.
And compared to the rest of the state, we're down.
Yeah.
And then in the last one, overall satisfaction, we're
Safety.
down, if you look at the last page, look under very satisfied. Okay, we're 36%. Entire state, 52%.
Oh, you're still on communication?
I'm on the last page of this. So
Yeah,
it's
what's the
overall
heading?
satisfaction, look at the overall satisfaction.
Overall.
At the
Oh,
end,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah,
end.
okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at.
So does this mean we have disgruntled people who filled this out, or maybe just certain
Well,
people
okay,
filled out
but-
who wanted to?
Okay, but the thing is, it's compared to the entire state. In
Right.
other words,
Yes, but you're also
Whether you
missing the
have-
point,
you have-
these are tenants who might have a bone to pick with somebody.
yeah.
And they may not have filled out an
No, but
application, or they did the opposite.
That's why I said they're generally happy, but they were,
Yeah, I
They
mean,
were-
you know, they could be just
They could
pissed
put it-
off.
If you're doing a representative sample, the thinking is, like, one of the ways you do this is you use random numbers. Everybody's assigned a number, and you take a random sample on the assumption that it'll represent most everybody. So that's what you have at each level, the state, us, and the small housing authorities. So what we're getting should represent the mean of where tenants are.
Well, I've also done some research, and the way you phrase your questions in research
Yes,
can definitely
Skew.
skew
Yeah,
the
Yeah, and it
answer.
can skew it whichever way, but it's in terms of the entire state.
we're different.
It's the same question.
It's the same question across the state, and we are less satisfied than,
And we probably have a lot of less happy people in life.
well, no, it's
We don't
across
know.
the state.
Well, we don't know, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to make a decision here, or look
Well,
at
there's
this.
no decision to be made, I think.
I think people who live in these facilities have a little chip on their shoulder.
All right.
They're not gratuitous at all, to even have housing.
Well, given that, my concern is about the safety issues,
yeah, I
Because
was
the bullets
surprised,
that came up
I was
there-
surprised to see those.
about illegal activity, strangers hanging around, and non-residents getting access codes. That is something that has some urgency in terms of,
But that would be, what,
Right,
the
so-
Ann Whalen?
Right, so we've been working on that too.
Yeah.
So the Ann Whalen building is definitely safer now than it was then,
in 18.
in 18, or in this one again was fall of 2020?
No, it went from 2019 to 2022.
2022.
Yeah. I know, that's, it's a,
It's
That's a
very
big-
strange
I
when
know.
they're doing it.
yeah.
And didn't you install like cameras and
So
everything?
now we
since
have
then?
full cameras on all
Yeah.
floors, whereas before we only had them around the center.
You know,
There's a lot of tenant education on not buzzing people in to the building, and again, that's out of our control, but we do talk to people about that in newsletters and when we hear about it happening. Yeah, we do, even this past winter, we had a problem with, we do have a very high homeless population in Amherst.
Mhm.
We had a good number of folks sleeping in the lobby.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if they sneak in, there was, you know, they end up in the bathroom, which is one of the reasons why the bathroom's locked.
Mm.
We do actually have a project in, and the next step for the laundry rooms is to put on doors like this with a window,
Yeah.
and a camera in there too, because you don't wanna be, you know,
Yeah.
going in to do your laundry,
Yeah.
and there's a homeless
Yeah.
person.
And generally speaking, I would say homeless people are not threatening, only in appearance.
It's very startling for
Oh,
a
it is.
little old
I-
lady to
Oh,
go
I
into.
know that,
yeah.
I know, but, yeah, it's a perception, and it's an important perception of not
So
feeling
even if
safe.
they weren't homeless people, we have some young, one of our tenants at Ann Whalen has a habit of letting their teenage grandchildren come
Yeah,
after school, and they kind of run
yeah.
through the hallways and hang out at the upper, and they're, you know, nice.
They're kids.
They're kids, but to the residents that belong to the
They're scary.
building,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be there. So
It's interesting how Clark House manages that, because they're a mixed, but much more mixed population. They have families and
Yeah,
elderly and disabled.
Yeah.
so having young around is really.
Right.
Yeah, David.
Michael, listening to the conversation and the survey information about surveys, I think we need to, well, for me, Amherst Housing Authority is no longer, I think, what it was when I started almost 9 years ago.
Hmm.
There were a number of major changes that needed to be made, and I think in most cases we have moved in the direction to strengthen and improve our housing
Okay,
So the survey information, I would say if it's 5 years old or 3 years old, 4 years, folks are looking for what they used to have or what they would like to have. But on the other side, looking at all of that, there's the business side of the housing authority as well as that of serving our clients. And I think that we have moved in that direction with our executive director, the changes that has been made. We need to pay attention to it and not just figure that we're all that great and everything, but I think that we're headed in a very positive direction.
okay, thank you, yeah.
Thank you, David. As far as so there's that very poor score about the communication and the respect against the state. And I do think you have a point there. It could be somebody's got a chip on their shoulder. It could be in that time period they had a bad interaction with a staff member. We take that pretty seriously. Myself, Erin, Mary, we've been working with our staff. We've made some changes in the staff. Nancy, you work with some people at the senior center and at the Board of Health. Tenants, you know some tenants that had some complaints about specific employees that are no longer with us. Things happen that way. And we do have ongoing training. We do take customer service training. We take the Mass Narrow training. I play by the regulations, but at the same time, we really should be, could you please? You know, you show respect, and you get respect that way. So it's an ongoing process. I hope that the next survey results show better, because it is important. I just got a concern last week that came through about current staff, and I'm addressing the issue. So it's.
Well, I agree with David that, you know, when you came on board, we had a lot of remedial work to be done and coming up to spec. And so,
Yeah.
and then we had that hit with COVID.
Well, I know, I think about your tenure, and you started out with a major fire.
Yeah,
Right.
the first
You
year.
Third day on the job.
Yeah.
With a death.
Third day on the
You,
job.
well, you started with an agency that was torn up by director's misconduct, then a fire, and then COVID. And so the fact that you're still here.
Yeah, she's gonna say.
There is-
That wall, you know, when he said, here's the member on here.
Thank goodness.
Angela,
Stay with us, stay with us.
Right, so
You
I
wanted.
appreciate your persistence.
Thank you.
Oh, really?
I am scrappy.
Well, sometimes it must feel like whack-a-mole.
It truly does. That's actually good.
Yeah.
Good analogy.
But that fire just,
Okay, I remember that thing.
yeah.
Well, should we take,
Yeah.
is there any further, well, thank you. So, if we're ready to adjourn, I'm looking at 2 dates, August, I can never keep, you can't remember the month, and I can't remember if it's the 3rd or 4th Monday of the month.
Usually the 3rd, and sometimes we push it to the 4th, depending on
Okay, so
what.
I was fairly right. So that would be the 21st or the 28th of August.
Let's say that again, what day?
Either the 21st or the 28th of August, David.
Can I take these?
How does that work for people?
Either one is fine with me.
Okay,
Yeah, either one, I'm fine.
I'm good.
Say it again?
21 or 28?
Either.
Can I ask for the 28th? We have, we're in the negotiations with the union on
Sure.
the 21st.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So the 28th?
Does that work, James? I think that's a go then.
Okay.
So the next meeting, I'm gonna make a proposal that we adjourn till August 28th at 1 o'clock.
Do we get to say anything but the,
Oh, no, I'm so glad you called me. Let me just, so we're in agreement about the 28th. I need to backtrack though.
Okay,
We were gonna talk about the whole filming.
yes, please.
That one?
The
It's got a
filming,
name.
yes. Filming. Okay,
So-
this is the-
I don't hear you, Michael.
Mark is pulling something up on his computer to address the issue of,
Oh, okay.
filming our sessions.
I just have some questions, and I don't know whether or not who to address them to, so I'm just gonna address them to the
Mike.
to everyone, and I'll let you decide
Okay.
who should answer. I know, from what I understand, the public has a right to record, I assume. My questions are a couple of things. First of all, who that video belongs to? That's not my number
That would
one.
belong to the person filming it,
Okay.
because it's their right.
Do they have the right, because I am doing some research on a lot of AI right now.
Yeah,
I have a person who is asking me to do research on deep fake, which I don't know if anybody knows anything about it. It's a new AI technology where basically you can go in and edit a film or take pieces of film, put something else on
Yeah,
it,
take
change
something
it.
else.
You can change it all around. Unfortunately, when I was working with Homeland Security, it was a major issue.
Right.
And now it's become even a bigger
Commercial.
issue. No, it's become a major issue as far as security.
Yeah,
And now I'm concerned because this film is going to be in the possession of somebody other than the board members or the city. We don't know, and I'm not saying somebody would or would not do something,
right.
but we don't know that.
But we don't, it's their right, so there's no regulation to address that at this point in time. If any citizen can record a public meeting, we have no recourse.
It's similar to when we took a training with the Secretary of State's office on record retention and being able to digitalize things. And they said the regulations aren't there yet of that. And he said, we're just kind of living in the wild, wild west.
That's
Technology
what it
is
feels like.
changing so quickly
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
that we can't.
It feels like, I mean, I came from media. I have no qualms about somebody recording something. I mean,
Yeah,
it's public knowledge, but the thing is, it seems very uncomfortable, I guess that's the word I can say. Because it's basically, you're a free-for-all for anybody who gets
Right.
that film or video or whatever, they can do whatever they want.
right,
And you have, as you say, no recourse.
yeah. As usual, technology gets ahead of what society needs to regulate it, and then we rush behind.
Well, my last question is then, if that sits with the person who films it, does anybody have access to it, or does that person have the rights to say, no, you can't see it, or you don't have the right?
I would assume the latter.
So if somebody wants to see it, even another party outside the board or whatever, they have to go and plead with that person to say,
Well,
can we see it?
I think if Kevin puts it on Amherst Media will have a copy.
Right, but what if he doesn't? And he keeps it for himself?
That's
So,
out of our purview.
so then as a board, should we ask Amherst Media to come in and tape?
Well, that
That's
would
an
make,
option.
that would alleviate the responsibility for Kevin to be responsible for possession of the
But I-
video.
Right,
And then legally, it would be the Amherst Media,
Correct.
so legally, they would be responsible. I mean, I don't mind the camera being here, it's really irrelevant to me at this point. I mean, it's too late now, so it's been running for 3 hours. But my point is for future things.
yeah, well, it'd be the matter of the cost for Amherst Media to do it. I mean, they do town meeting and they do, not town meeting, town council, they do the school board sometimes. But I don't know where they get their money to do that.
I have no idea.
And so, in this case, you have an individual doing it himself,
Right.
and then they're there to help him edit it and put it together and to show it. But beyond
That
that.
editing
that
portion is one of my
I
questions.
understand. But for them to come here and do it, I don't know whether they do that. We can inquire.
I have no idea.
Is there space at town hall where they do meetings? that we could meet there?
The police station has a community room, which is ideal for this.
Is that where they have the council meetings?
No, they have it upstairs in town hall.
Yeah, we could look into town hall doing it. But who films it there? I think it's still.
Is it still Kevin, an outside party who films, or is it the media that films, or?
I could ask, yeah.
I just had, I'm sorry to bring it up at the end, it's just, I had a lot of
No, I
questions
told you
about
we
that.
would do it, I'm glad you caught me.
Yeah, I'll ask
All right.
tomorrow.
So we can revisit this.
I would like to revisit next time we meet.
Absolutely, all right. So then, I'll make a motion, we adjourn till the 28th at 1 o'clock here.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
And then we have a special meeting we're gonna set, which we have to do 3 days in advance,
Yeah,
to meet with Hadley.
oh, I thought we made it time.
we did, you're gonna call David
I'm
Marsh?
gonna call
and find
David
out
in the next
to
20
see
minutes.
Oh, I see,
where we're,
yeah.
Yeah, we're thinking meeting here.
Are you talking the Friday, that Friday?
Yes.
it's Friday here, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, is that a go? Or-
Yeah, he's just gonna confirm, David's
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
Oh,
gonna confirm
confirm.
it
we
with
send
David.
those
Mike
in.
was
Say
gonna confirm with
that you
David.
get back.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of Davids around here.
Yeah, really, it's getting confusing.
Oh, It's all people of a certain age.
Yeah.
It's not the name it was. So, okay, guys, I made a motion, we adjourn for our next meeting until the 28th at 1. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.